So we had a sample size of what the Jacksonville Jaguars intend to do or how they want to use Travis Hunter. I'm not sure I really understand it right now. We'll talk about it today here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is, in fact, your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Just make sure you tap in so you do not miss an episode. Shout out to the everydayers that join us and make us their first listen each and every day. You can do the same thing to make sure you don't ever miss us, like today's show, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I'm going to give you a little bit of a road map here in just a second to let you know exactly where we're going and where we're going to end up. I also want to thank you for listening to Locked On Jaguars and reminding you that you can follow our show and hear new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. So go check that out. All right, here's what we're going to end up talking about. We're going to talk about the game in London, the Rams. They play the Rams. There's a lot of familiarity. We'll go over that. Right smack in the middle, line issues. Are they fixable or not? We're going to talk about offense and defense, about 80% of the offensive line, and then we'll tap into the defense too, and try to look and see where they could possibly get some help with both. Handling of Travis Hunter, are you concerned or not? I am concerned. I'm concerned, but I want to preface that by saying this. I'm not concerned because I'm worried about those people I talked about last week. And the group I'm referencing is folks that haven't been around Jacksonville to understand the history of the team and why we're winning and why when we're winning, nobody's going to complain about anything. Also not concerned about folks who just believe that somehow the Jaguars brass is doing something wrong because the hype of Travis Hunter hasn't been manifested on the field yet outside of one or two plays. That's not the concern that I have either. Mine is rooted in this. And I'll have to take you back to when he was drafted. They said that they did not know what it was going to look like. They being Liam Cohen, I know I heard him say it. I think I possibly heard James Gladstone kind of hint something to that, and they were going to figure it out as they went along. I've often framed them giving – oh, by the way, the other group is the draft compensation people that you could offer them the best stock in the world for a draft pick, and they'll say, no, we ain't giving up that first-round draft pick. So the extra first-round pick also comes to play because folks are saying, was he worth it? All right, so we can still use some of that, though, to look at how he's been used up to this point. And maybe we're not going to draw a conclusion after 6 games on was it worth it. I don't even think you can do that after a year. Okay, so we're not going to go down that rabbit hole of trying to justify a draft choice or trying to justify compensation for a player who we've sample size of for 6 games, because we have no idea whether he was worth it or not, because the people that's in charge might just be wrong in how they're trying to do what they're trying to do. But I don't think them being wrong is egregious. I don't think them being wrong is for some sinister reason. I don't think them being wrong is for ego. And the reason why I don't think that, because they clearly told you at the very beginning that they did not know what it was going to look like, that this was something new that they were going to try, and they were going to try because he is not normal and he's a supernatural athlete. So how you actually get him to be a great wide receiver and a great corner with the time constraints, with the onboarding that comes along with being on a new team. And I know there are people that say, well, he was new at Jackson State and he dominated right away. And he was new at Colorado, he dominated the right way. And for that crew, I'm going to tell you something. This is the National Football League. This is different. Reggie Bush didn't look like he looked in college, okay? Ricky Williams didn't look like he looked in college. Michael Crabtree didn't look like he looked in college. You can go down the list of dudes that got drafted that were at the top of their draft class, And every time it comes around, and they either had a good career, a solid career, but maybe not a great career, because the NFL is not college. It is the hardest thing for that record. Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked the way he looked at Clemson. If you want to do that, we can go down the line and talk about the players that got to the National Football League that didn't look like they looked in college, because this is where the truth comes out. And I'm not saying that Travis Hunter isn't as good as any of us thought he was. I still think he's great. I'm saying that it is a unique situation where in the National Football League, you're trying to get a guy to play wide receiver and corner. I pointed out on yesterday's show that one of my issues is that there are critical junctures of the game, whether the Jaguars are on offense or defense, and he's not in the game. I'll pause right there because we're going to carry this over to segment 2. Why? If he's not in on offense on critical situations, you can't tell me it's just because of the formation, or you can't tell me it's because, well, the play that we're running done. Because if you're going to run stuff that's going to keep a dude off the field, you shouldn't have picked him. Not only should you not have taken him at number 2, you damn sure shouldn't have traded a second-round pick for him. So that can't continue. If that is only that way because he ain't quite ready yet, now you got to ask yourself why he's not ready. It's because he spends half his time in the defensive room and he's not with the offense enough, right? But I'm not going to sit here and blame an offsides on that. I'm not going to sit here and blame the fact that he has to be told where to go. I'm going to keep chalking that up as a rookie. But maybe if he was just on one side of the ball, that wouldn't happen. Oh, if you're saying I agree with you because we want him to be a wide receiver full time, don't clap too fast because I'm about to hit you upside the head with this one. There are times on defense when Travis Hunter, the dude that should have been the Thorpe Award winner, the Biletnikoff Award winner, he was the Heisman winner. He's probably the best athlete on the field at all times. Critical junctures of the game, why is he not on a wide receiver? Why is he not in the game? If your answer to that is because, well, he just ran 2 go routes, then I'll say that's a problem. Whatever is causing him to not be in the game in critical moments on either side of the ball is a problem. Now you say, well, Wig, how can that be? How can he be in the game during critical junctures on offense when he was just in the game on critical junctures on defense? And I'll go ding, ding, ding. This is what he wants to do. Can you do it and be at your absolute best? I don't know what it's going to look like either. So far, neither does the coaching staff because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it work. We haven't seen anything that lets you know, other than the Kansas City game where he made a good play on defense and then he made 2 really, really great plays on offense. And he probably made more plays on defense because when corners make plays on defense, you don't always see it. It's not just about batted balls and interceptions. It's about the quarterback looking over there and saying, he's not open, let me go somewhere else. That means that guy did his job. So I'm not indicting the Jaguars brass. But what I am telling you is after 6 games, I am still in that phase where I'm trying to see what this is going to look like and where it's going to go. What has made this a topic for me today is how many times I saw Travis, if you look at my thumbnail, he has his hands out. He has his hands out. When you look at the thumbnail, you can't tell where he's looking at. I can because I saw it happen in real time. He was looking at the coaching staff, asking them why he was playing off. I think he had a pass caught in front of him. And then after that, he tightened up. So when you see someone constantly with their hands out, and you can see him from the press box because his gloves are pink, because he's bringing awareness to breast cancer, and you're wondering, is he confused? He has a high football IQ. How come this isn't fixed? And then you combine that with them getting so many pre-snap penalties, not all on him. They happen when he's not even in the game. And you hear Liam Cohen say, that's on me. We have to tighten it up. You sure do. And I also think you have to eventually tighten up the way that you're coaching him and using him. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built, B-I-L-T, comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, and your next Lyft ride and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. There's so many things to do in your neighborhood. All the restaurants, all the gyms that you use, everything that's within a small bike ride, walk, or a car drive can help you save some money when you use Built. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnfl to make sure to use that link so they know that we sent you. And today's show is also sponsored and brought to you by Rougier. Hey, man, what do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla? Riding a T-Rex. Confidence, pure confidence. And if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougier Go Long. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougier Go Long. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, that's what you need. That's exactly where Rougier's Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. If prescribed, it's going to be right there, man, if you order. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to RUGIET.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first purchase. That's RUGIET.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure you use the code so they know that we sent you. All right, Locked On Jaguars here, making sure you know that this is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. We're talking about Travis Hunter. We're going to continue that before we get to these line issues. For what it's worth, I believe they're trying to do the right thing by him. And I think him wanting to play, him being Travis Hunter, wanting to play both ways is something that he's always done. I do believe that he could be good to great at wide receiver. I think he could be great, and the floor is good at cornerback. I've said that forever. I also like the fact that he shouldn't care what I think. He believes he can be great at both things. That's what people who are superlative at anything believe. And this isn't to change the mind of anyone that believes that. I do believe, though, to me, that the distance between the great players and the good players in the National Football League is very, very small. And there are a lot of things around those players' individual performances that lead up to and allow those people to actually show up as great. I'll give you an example. A.J. Brown from Philadelphia. A.J. Brown should probably lead the league in either yards or catches, but he doesn't because of the team that he plays for. Now, we ain't going to complain because they just won the Super Bowl, right? But there's a reason why he's over there reading them books. It's probably the competitor in him is probably saying you need to be doing this, but the teammate in him says you need to be doing that. And what you're seeing is you're likely seeing a clash of those two things. He doesn't sit there and read books to try to make sure that he doesn't get in the way of any of that stuff. Well, with the Jaguars, I think they're trying to do right. I think they're trying to keep promises. They were 4-1 up until yesterday. They should have been 5-0. Ironically, they should have been 5-0 because of a play that he made against the Bengals. But when you lose now, all of these things come out. I don't think Travis Hunter had anything to do with them losing the game the other day. That was the offensive line. That was the biggest culprit. The biggest culprit was the offensive line. And then Leon, they got caught in quarters and they got beat with a beater that, that was good against quarters. Liam explained that yesterday and all of that stuff. I thought they got kind of out-coached and out-schemed and out-toughed a little bit. And then I thought the Jaguars got away from who they are just because the perceived weaknesses. Then people have done this all year. The Seahawks have been damaged up in the secondary. So teams go in there thinking, okay, we're just going to try to exploit their weaknesses as opposed to paying attention to your strengths. When you look at the stats, they're really good against the run. They're obviously good against the run. But if you're a running team, you got to, regardless if you got banged up people or not, you have to really try to run the football, right? And they got away from being who they are. And when you get away from your identity, you lose and you find yourself in a strange place. And then the kicking game also let them down. But what guys like Travis Hunter do, and I hold them to a very, very high standard, is they hide your warts. When you need a play, they make it. He did it against Kansas City multiple times. Great players can mask anything and can help bail you out of certain situations. So when I look up and I don't see him on the field in critical situations on both sides of the ball, and then when I try to figure out why, it's not because he's not good. I know the coaching staff ain't going to sit here and say that other people give them a better chance to win, because that would inherently say he wasn't worth giving up 2 first-round picks for. And when you give up that many picks, it can't always be about the future. It can't be down the road. It can't be just to add talent to your team. When you give up all of that stuff, 2 first-rounders and change, it has to be a part of it is because, he's going to be a day one dude that's going to come out here and do his thing, right? And he still could be. Are they emphasizing that enough? They don't have to emphasize his personal stats over the team, but you're not giving your playmaker and your guy a chance to make the plays that allows everything to be eased up by everyone else. Unless he's not ready because he's spending time in multiple rooms. See, in the NFL, I always ask, and this is why I kept asking those questions, because they've been telling us for years that the great ones are not just great, they also work hard. But most of those guys that they talked about that were working hard at one thing: reps, over and over and over. And I remember Ron Miles telling me that, well, he does reps. Some of them are just mental. I ain't talking about mental reps, man. I'm talking about being on that grass, doing what you're supposed to do, learning the little nuances of your position. I don't think he's going to struggle with that at corner. I really do believe that he might struggle with that a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's what you've seen so far. The question is, for me, is when they say they don't know what it looks like, I would love for them, and they won't say it, and I don't expect them to say it. And that's why I'm asking this question and putting it out into the universe here on this podcast. Do you like what you see so far? I know you like the 4-1 aspect, but now they're 4-2. What if they don't win against the Rams and they're 4-3? And you look up and you say, okay, we got the rest of the year to go. How are we going to implement this or do this to the point where we can get the absolute best out of him so it helps the team? I don't know what they're going to do differently other than maybe play him on one side of the ball and then spot use him somewhere else. Having one guy like that it's been said that it gives them roster flexibility. Well, I want to see him use that roster flexibility. I'm going to talk about the line, though. The offensive line and the defensive line. You can fix the defensive line with a trade. I don't think you can fix the offensive line with a trade. The only offensive lineman that'll help you right now, the 49ers season has gone to hell. If you want to trade something for Trent Richardson, if you can fit him under the cap, Trent Williams, not Trent Richardson, probably somewhere in Alabama chilling. I'm talking about Trent Williams, big Trent Williams. That's something I think could help the offensive line because they have nothing, even though their record still is okay, they're banged up, man, and they ain't going nowhere fast. Do you do something like that? Do you bring him in for this year or next year because he can still play? What do you got to give up? I think to get him, you ain't going to have to give up a whole bunch because of his age. To get anything else on that offensive line, you got to give up one of your players, one of your core players on the other team. People say maybe get a wide receiver if you're going to play Travis. Maybe go get A.J. Brown. If you give up A.J. Brown, you're going to have – if you go get A.J. Brown, you got to give up Brian Thomas Jr. or Josh Allen or something and some stuff. Do you do that? Can you make it work with the cap? The line can't be fixed. The line is going to have to continue to be fixed. They got to get healthy. If they're healthy, they're in the top half of the league. I still question whether or not they are in the top 10, though. Are they that good? I think they're going to have to do more in the offseason. It starts and stops with 72, walk a little. I don't know if he's going to cut it over a long period of time. I really, really don't. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to talk more about them and the defensive line and then the trip to London and its importance. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. Look, man, I know we're 6 games in. It ain't too late. The season is right here. You're coming out of the first third into the second third. And guess what that means? You still have an offer from FanDuel that you need to take advantage of. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. I'll say it again. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The good thing about FanDuel is they don't just let you go in there blind. They give you information, up-to-date information on roster moves, everything that's going on, injury reports, tendencies, all of that stuff. So you can be informed when you put that $5 down to get those $300. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. $5, your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets across the app. FanDuel. Segment 3 here on Locked On Jaguars. It is your team every day. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host. Credentialed member of the media is your host here of Locked On Jaguars. It's been a couple of decades. So sometimes I have to really, really make sure that I don't have this syndrome where I keep bringing up things from the past. But I will bring this one up. It was one of my shining moments as a podcaster. Jaguars are 8-3, and I looked up, they played the 49ers, and they got whipped physically. And I came right on after I did a post-game show, and I said, we got a problem. Although the record was 8-3, riding high off of going to the divisional the year before, and the playoff win against the Chargers, I said, no, there was something I just saw that this is a problem. And it ended up being a problem. They didn't even make the playoffs that year. And that problem was they had no sand in their pocket on the offensive line. They got whipped. They got whipped the other day against Seattle and gave up 7 sacks. I am not going to sit here and come back on there and tell you with the same gusto that they got a problem anywhere near the magnitude of what they had that day. One, because Robert Hainsey, the center, was out, and they had a rookie in at center. And while he wasn't the one giving up a whole bunch of the ground, he was the one that kept getting pushed back into Trevor's lap, right? Robert Hainsey traveled with the team to London. I think he's probably going to play. He's on the plane. We'll see he was on the plane yesterday. We'll see what happens. And we'll see if that changes everything. I did not like what I saw from Walker Little. And I know Anton Harrison, who has been playing really well, is a little bit banged up, and he's trying to give it a good go. I didn't like what I saw from Chuma Edoga, who went out there and to fill in for him and Pat McCary at some point. I don't like the fact that Pat is banged up. You see, I think the Jaguars' offensive line and their ability to move out in space has been the thing that has really, really helped them this year. It even helped them against a team that had a good defensive line in the Houston. It helped them against Houston. Let me down a little bit late in the game against Cincinnati with Trey Hendrickson, but see, I'm mentioning good players. I am wondering, however, if Seattle gave a blueprint, and granted, everybody doesn't have what Seattle has. Leonard Williams and all of these dudes, first round pick. I got a kid that got out of Texas a couple years ago at nose guard, and Dexter Lawrence, a veteran, and Boy Mafe, a dude that's in a contract year. So everybody doesn't have that, right? But I wonder if they gave a little bit of a blueprint on how to shut down the Jaguars offense, even when Robert Hainsey comes back. That's something that we got to keep watching, right? I do think the Jaguars offensive line is way better than the one that I talked about that gave up that stuff to San Francisco, where they got absolutely manhandled. But it's going to be something for you to watch moving forward when you start formulating in your head, what do they need to do to continue to move this entire program forward? It's not just about adding people. It's about you need to take a real hard examination and look at Walker Little to make sure that he's going to be all right at left tackle. because we're trying to get our quarterback to be more consistent. He can't be consistent if he's consistently running for his life, okay? Before we really get a full measurement on what that is. Don't add any other mojo to the Trevor Lawrence experience. Trust me, it's already enough. On the defensive side of the ball, maybe there is something you can do. Maybe there is. The Giants keep winning. They ain't trading Dexter Lawrence. I had somebody ask me about Christian Wilkins. If people wanted Christian Wilkins, he'd be on the team. He's not. Nobody's claiming him right now. There's a whole bunch of teams that need help. Cincinnati needs help on defense. They ain't going out there getting them. So there must be a reason and stuff that we all hear speculation, but reasons behind the scenes why he's not available. The Titans, they fired their coach yesterday. Is this point where you go out and you go get Simmons, defensive tackle? It very well could be. Do they make a trade within the division, though? That's the question that you need to ask. Speed rushers. Are there any guys out there that could really, really help this team? And what do you got to do to give up for a dude that's not going to start unless you trade one of those starters? And I don't think it's going to be Trayvon. I don't know if they can trade Josh or if they even want to. But you're going to have to get more out of that position than you've gotten, especially since we have seen that they are not the same team when Trayvon is not 100%. Hopefully he'll get back to being a little bit closer to what he had been early in the year. He's got that big club on his hand. We think that they're going to start getting to that point. And now that Devin Lloyd has been left at home and some of your depth at linebackers being questioned, they got a real thin line, man, where they're toying with the offensive line. So I look for Jimmy Gladstone to probably do something prior to the break. After this week, the Jaguars have a bye. I think they're going to get real busy after Sunday's game. They have 2 weeks to try to get some stuff done. They got Greg Newsome to come in here. He was in the game the other day at the wrong time, and he got picked on. As soon as they saw him, they said, yep, we're going after him because he's new here. And that's exactly what they did, and they took advantage of it and scored a long chunk play on a touchdown. Look, it's going to take a while. Maybe this fast start got us all thinking that this thing is going to be changed for the better to the point where they're going to start competing and winning for championships and division titles. The Colts are 5-1. If it can be them, it can be us. We're a game behind at 4-2. They have a lot of stuff they have to clean up. They have the opportunity, though. The Rams are a little bit banged up as well, and then there's the familiarity aspect. I want to see now, can the Jaguars go from having a bad week where nothing went right to turning that thing around and having a good week where they actually play a little bit better and they start applying some of the stuff we hear Liam talk about in the locker room during postgame. So we'll just have to see. So just to tidy everything up, I'm looking forward to what the lines do, both the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball this week against the Rams. And then I want to watch the Travis Hunter usage. You could not have told me that 6 games in, Travis Hunter would not have a touchdown. I would not have believed that. In fact, I would have lost my money on the over under if we were betting that on FanDuel back when the season started. It's not about stats; it's about wins. He's been a great teammate. He smiles. He does everything that they're asking him to do. I just wonder if they have figured out now, as they were trying to figure out what it was going to look like, if they're going to change it up a little bit to get more usage and maximize the ability of a kid that I think is outwardly out of this world in terms of his talent and his work ethic, because I want to see what's best for him. I just want to make sure everything lines up with what's also best for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still happy that they made the trade. I just want to see results start heading in a more tangible direction. I just don't want critical parts of the game. If you tell me he's not on offense during a critical part of the game, I say, okay, because he's always on defense, or vice versa. There should never be a point where he's not on the field for a critical part of the game when the game is on the line on either side of the ball. To me, that is a red flag that there's something that they need to figure out and maybe bring him up to snuff a little bit more on one side of the ball before they start force feeding him both sides. I know he has the appetite for it, but sometimes you got to save young men for themselves and say, look, we'll get back to that, but first, this is what I want you to do. We'll see if that's what the Jaguars do. You don't have to worry and wonder about what we'll do here on Locked On Jaguars or Locked On NFL, because I got another show, The Barbershop, that comes on every day at 2 p.m. on Locked On NFL. But that follows Tyler Rowland, the madman that wakes you up like a double shot of espresso every morning with Locked On NFL in the morning. Make sure you check out both shows. We would appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys spending a little bit over 30 minutes with me here today. I never take your time for granted, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Travel safely if you're going to London. We'll see you tomorrow.